and Sam Johnson on today. And in fact, these two guests are here with us, and I want to thank both of them. Ms. Butterfield, Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a question to each of them. They drew straws, and so there was no particular order. It was just purely by chance. And then after that, we're just going to have sort of a free-flowing dialogue. Folks, if you have any questions for Ms. Butterfield and Mr. Johnson, please give us a call at 682-1430. That's 682-1430. So, Mr. Johnson, the first question is for you. Stacy Butterfield, your opponent, is a certified public accountant who has dedicated the majority of her working career to the Clerk of Court's office. She has the confidence of Richard Weiss and the employees of the Clerk's office. There is no learning curve for Ms. Butterfield. Do you agree that her experience in the Clerk's office would be a benefit? And secondly, your claim is that you can lead, and nobody doubts that, Mr. Johnson, but are you suggesting that she can't?
Well, I'm going to try to answer this the most positive way I can. Experience is great, and no matter what field I have been in, there have been a lot of competent people in their particular jobs. But competence in a specific job, such as accounting or a CPA, which is just one part of what the clerk of the court's office does, in which, let me explain to you, I am not running to be an accountant for the clerk of the court. I am running to be clerk of the court over all of the departments. The department that handles the finance and accounting for the board, that is the clerk to the board, and that is the clerk to the court, both circuit and county courts. So I think that sounds good, but I think the reality is you got to have somebody to be able to come in there and take everything in its totality and put it together to run a seamless organization. And somebody with vision that I have shown and demonstrated, leadership that I have shown and demonstrated, whether it's on state, regional, or local boards, or in my position as county commissioner, or in my position, throughout state agencies that I've been involved with. So to answer your question directly, I think that sounds great, but I'm not running to be a CPA any more than I'm trying to run to be the IT director or the attorney that provides information to the clerk of the court or any other position. Those are great and probably an asset so that they know how that particular area is run. But the reality is, who can come in there and take all of that, put some new, fresh ideas in, and take the clerk of the court's office to the next level, in which my whole idea of coming in is to, number one, provide comprehensive, transparent audits to county programs so that the public knows and is assured that their dollars are being spent appropriately and that those vendors who are doing business with us are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay. Ms. Butterfield, Sam Johnson has participated and led the county commission during some of the most difficult times in Polk history. He has had to make tough decisions. He has helped shape a budget worth $1.3 billion annually and maintained a level of service most would agree is impressive under the circumstances in Polk County over the last few years. Do you agree that his record of being a good leader and sound fiscal steward is something voters should take into account? And if a track record of these qualities is one of his greatest strengths, how do you counter it?
Thank you, David. I think I want to say that I very much think that leadership skills are extremely important in this job. The clerk's job is one of enormous responsibility and accountability. And I think that to be able to lead the people that you have in that organization, it's very important that the experience in that very field or fields that are covered by the duties of the clerk is extremely important. It's a critical leadership position, and I think that I have those leadership skills and the experience, educational background, and hands-on training in those specific areas that the clerk's office performs. I'm not just a CPA. I am a CPA by training and education and all, but I want to be the clerk and the leader. I will be in that next level. And I have been participating in the leadership of the clerk's office throughout these years. And I think that the leadership skills that Commissioner Johnson has exhibited on the commission are very good, and they're great for those policy-making decisions that they've had to face. Their budget has been tough. The clerk's office has been facing some significant budget cuts. And through all those budget cuts, I've been right there as part of the leadership team to manage through all those cuts on both the court side, the official recording side, and the county clerk to the board side and accountant and auditor to the board. So I've had experience in all of the areas. So I do believe that, yes, I can agree that his leadership skills are important. I think I bring those skills also, and I add to it those specific areas of training. It would kind of be like you as an attorney. It would be like, you've done a great job as an attorney, but that may not qualify you or bring to you the ability to step right in and take over as some other profession, that you would need the training and experience in those specific areas. So I think that I have looked at things with a fresh set of eyes. In the office, we've been very, very proactive. On the court side, especially, we can look at what we've done with the digital records, the imaging, and preparing the clerk's office to be able to go into that next level. We talk about the next level and the vision. I have a vision for the office also, and that my number one priority is going paperless. When Richard Weiss took office many years ago, his goal and his vision was a completely paperless system. And our leadership team, which I've been an integral part of, has worked towards that very, very hard, and we've been very successful. I'm proud to say that today we got the approval for the e-filing in the civil courts.
All right, folks, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with Mr. Sam Johnson and Ms. Stacy Butterfield.
I'm Brent Gohagan of Gohagan, PA. If you are a business owner, you have undoubtedly had that moment when you realize, I wish I had someone trained to help me, guide me in the drafting of that contract, or you have been concerned about the prospect of your business being sued over something frivolous or needing guidance in a business dispute regarding some negligence or intentional action on the part of another business or individual. We are here to navigate you through this. We care because we know as a small business it matters to you. Visit us at Gohagan, PA.
There's going to be a Kaylor on the ballot on August 14th.
Which Kaylor would that be?
That would be Mark Kaylor.
Mark Kaylor.
Yes.
Running for circuit judge.
He is running for circuit judge, as are in a different race, William Seitz, Bill Seitz, and in a county race, Bob Grode.
Bob Grode.
Tremendous lawyers, will do a great job if given the opportunity to serve, and we encourage you to vote for them. And I believe you do the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody out there, all of our listeners, all of our many, many listeners,
Many.
and the people that are going to watch the video here in the next day or so when it's up, so they can actually watch us say this, to vote for those people.
That's William Seitz or Bill Seitz, Bob Grode, and Mark Kaylor running for judge here in Polk County. Two of them are running for judge in the 10th Judicial Circuit, which also includes Highlands County and Polk County. Now, before we go back with these guests, we have a habit. Sometimes people will come up, rarely, but sometimes people will come up and say, hey, I listened to the radio show. And we like to mention these people. So I was putting up some campaign signs for my uncle out there on Daughtry Road.
And you hurt your wrist.
I did. I'm a trooper.
Your wrist isn't strong enough. It was
yes,
a little limp.
Yes, a little weak wristed. Anyway, that was a good one. So I'm out there putting up this sign, and this fellow drives up on a motorcycle, and he says, "Who's running against Kaylor?" And I mentioned who's running against Kaylor, and he goes, "Well, that makes sense. I know who I'm going to vote for." And so now I'm curious. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Who are you going to vote for? He goes, well, I'm going to vote for Kaylor because he does that radio show. And I said, well, actually, the radio show is me. The fellow whose sign I'm putting up is my uncle. And he was all excited, and we had a nice conversation. Just a really, really nice guy. Name is Daniel. Daniel, thank you for stopping by, and thank you for agreeing to vote for Mr. Mark Kaylor.
And your uncle's riding your coattails.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That's essentially what it sounds like.
He is a far more experienced and qualified person to be on the bench than I am. All right, let's get back to this. Ms. Butterfield and Mr. Johnson. Mr. McMahon's going to ask the next question.
Yeah, Ms. Butterfield, you've worked at the clerk's office for obviously quite a while now. What could the clerk's office, what they're doing now, what could they be doing better when it comes to service, when it comes to the way things are done?
We could not use paper. Paper is very labor intensive. and paper is just costly. So what we can do better is to go completely paperless. Everything from in all courts, including traffic tickets. Right now, if you've gotten a traffic ticket, unfortunately, the officers still fill out those little yellow tickets, and those are transmitted to us daily. And there's a stack, and we have to take those papers and work with paper. You get a lot of paper in your office. You've used our office, but that's the biggest issue with our office is the paper. So that's why, again, my first priority and goal for the first term is to take us to that completely paperless system.
Sam, Mr. Johnson, same question to you. What could the clerk's office be doing better with your interaction you've had with them?
Right. Well, let me just tag on to the electronic side because that's terrific. And I think everybody in private work has recognized how beneficial the electronic age has made their industry, whether it's filing orders, processing customer service deals, so forth. You look at eBay, all of those kind of things, just everybody has gone that way. The clerk's office has made some terrific inroads in that area. And you guys as attorneys, whether it's probate or whatever, being able to e-file is terrific. Being able to work from your office 24/7, saving that drive to Bartow, of which you're going to charge your client for that time. And so if you can do it from the office, it's going to allow you to do more work and hopefully to be able to do it a little cheaper for some of the customers. And so I guess what I'm saying from that is those areas are going pretty well, and they're going consistently with what the state is saying that we want you to be at a certain point, with the paperless initiative. We know it's going to have big savings. So I want to continue to do that. I'm not going to stop doing it. That's what I want to continue doing. I think that's going great. The area, again, that I think has dropped the ball is the proactive area of coming in and making sure the right processes are in place and that proactive audits are being done on county programs and county departments to ensure that we are adequately, let me say this a different way, that we are ensuring the public that every dollar is being spent efficiently and that every vendor doing business with us is doing what that contract said that they would do.
I don't, and I apologize. I'm ignorant, and one would think I would know better, but I don't. When I think of the clerk of courts, I think of the things that we see at the courthouse every day. Right. You mentioned proactive audits. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, let me jump out there. You probably read several months ago about the garbage audit that the Ledger had done an inquiry into, and they think, according to their studies, that there may have been about $4.5 million of overbilling to customers for garbage pickup that never received garbage pickup. And that's approximately, I think from what the county manager was telling me the other day, over the life of the contract, about a $15 million a year program. And we have not audited that program until concerns were brought up this past October. That contract started, I believe it was back in 2005.
So you're telling me that the clerk of courts, and our listeners, both of them, that would be surprised by that. The clerk of courts is responsible for auditing the budgets of certain programs that are administered by the Board of County Commissioners?
Yeah, what a lot of people don't realize is, to a large degree, the clerk of the court's office is essentially the finance department for the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay. Ms. Butterfield, and I do remember reading about that, Mr. Johnson, with respect to the auditing function of the clerk of courts, give us your insight on that particular issue. And if you want to speak directly to this garbage problem that we had, certainly please feel free to do so.
Sure. Let me try to explain it to your listeners so that you understand what the finance area, the official title is clerk, accountant, and auditor to the Board of County Commissioners. And in those responsibilities, we're clerk to the board. We have the minutes of the board, maintain the official records of the board meetings and all that. And the accountant to the board, we serve as the accountant. We are responsible for all the financial accounting and reporting like you would think of in a normal business. And in that responsibility, we have what's called a pre-audit function. And in the pre-audit function, that's to make sure that every disbursement that's made of county funds is for a valid public purpose. That's the ultimate responsibility as far as every disbursement. And then as auditor to the board, actually there's no specific responsibility to do that, but the clerk many years ago talked to the board and said that they will perform independent audits of the Board of County Commissioners. And as a matter of fact, we do have an internal audit department that performs audits. That particular function does not report to the finance director. That function is independent and reports directly to the clerk. So that is not under my responsibility. And there's a reason it's not, because again, they are auditing things, financial records, operations, those types of things. So you need them reporting totally independent. And it's because of that independence that each year when the external auditors come in to perform an audit of your financial records, the annual financial audit, they can actually rely on the work of the internal auditors by all their standards. You have standards, you have your rules, your court rules. Well, the accountants have standards, accounting standards boards set all those things. And because of the placement of internal audit in the organizational structure, they can rely on the work. And as a matter of fact, the internal auditors do perform a lot of work on the external audit every year, which helps keep the cost down of the external audit, saves taxpayer funds each year.
It's sort of a,
Okay.
I'm a lawyer, I wasn't smart enough to get my CPA. Mr. Johnson points out that and Sam, if I get it wrong, that perhaps either a lapse or a delay in doing this audit, that taxpayer dollars were expended unnecessarily. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Not expended unnecessarily. Let me explain it. Okay, the audits that the clerk's internal audit department decides to do is a decision that's made between the clerk and the internal audit department. And many times the board asks for audits. As through the years, there's many times through the county manager or the Board of County Commissioners, they've come to the clerk and said, we'd like you to take a look at this. So there's an audit plan that's done each year, and the decision on what's to be audited is made at that time or throughout the year. So there's not like there's a requirement that every single contract that goes through has an audit. Okay? I want to make that very clear. On this specific one, an audit is being performed right now. All right, and the results of that, will be known when they bring out the audit, and Mr. Weiss could better answer those types of questions. But can I go back to Mark's question, because you asked me what we could do better, and
right.
Commissioner Johnson has talked about. One of my second goal is to take things to the next level. I want to establish an Office of Inspector General. And the main function of the Office of Inspector General is basically to promote accountability in county government. The office is pursuant to the Commission on Florida Law Enforcement, and it's an accreditation program. And the mission will be to preserve the public trust through auditing and investigation, providing public accountability for tax dollars and county revenue, and supply an objective, independent source of information. So to answer kind of your question also, I've got the paperless initiative, my vision, the paperless initiative, and then the second one is the Office of Inspector General. And those two things do not have to be mutually exclusive, because we're dealing with the office has what I consider three hats: clerk of the court, official record, and let's talk finance to the board. All of that is important, and this is on the finance to the board section. Obviously, the other part is talking about the court section. And remember, 75% of our operations and staff is in the court operations. And that's not to say that the finance isn't equally as important, but what I'm trying to point out is those two can run simultaneously. They do not have to be one and then the other.
Mr. Johnson, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, wow is all I would say. Yeah, the clerk of the court's office does a lot, but let me tell you, the finance and accounting part is responsible for $1.3 billion. So you want to put it in a monetary perspective, that office is in charge of a lot. Mm-hmm. That's a big responsibility, because that's what all the taxpayers expect their dollars to be taken care of. But let me tell you, and I'm just reading from Richard Weiss's budget request for the department that my opponent carries, and it says perform independent objective audit reviews and evaluations, evaluate the adequacy and effectiveness of procedures and internal controls for departments, agencies, programs, and functions to the Board of County Commissioners. So if you're doing that proactively, you don't have to get the internal audit people involved with this until there's a problem. unfortunately, that's why I was saying I want to be proactive in these processes to ensure the employees that they're doing the right thing so that they're being accountable and they're confident in doing their job. And ultimately, a county commissioner doesn't get a phone call from the ledger or somebody else saying, hey, what do you think? We've done an audit, and we think there's about $4.5 million of overbilling. You don't want to get those calls. The employees that are responsible for that don't want to get that call. And so mine is be proactive, and let's put those processes in place so these issues don't arise. And for a $15 million a year program, you can bet we're going to audit it.
Okay, folks, we got to take a break and be right back with Mr. Sam Johnson and Miss Stacy Butterfield.
Hello, I'm Mark McMann. I started McMann, PA after serving 10 years as a United States Army JAG Corps officer, as a military lawyer. That experience instilled in me certain attributes, including dedication, loyalty, sacrifice, hard work. I have made those attributes the cornerstone, the foundation of McMann, PA. If you're going through a divorce, a paternity action, a child custody battle, or perhaps a child support battle, call us at 863-393-9010 or visit us at McMannLaw.com. We are with you, honest, hardworking, and loyal every step of the way.
All right, welcome back to Law Talk, sponsored by the Kaylor Law Group in McMann, PA. Mark, we've got Ms. Butterfield and Mr. Johnson on today, but who do we have coming up?
We have Tim Harris with the school board. He's going to be coming on. He used to come on pretty regularly, and in fact, I think you called him the Harvey Korman of our show.
That's right.
Because he's a special guest yet on every show. But he's going to be coming on July 30th, and I think we're working on getting Dennis Ross on. And
yeah, why does Dennis Ross not want to come on?
I don't know.
I don't think he likes you.
It's not me. He loves me.
Okay.
He's just giving you lip service.
Yeah.
I'll ask the question, and we'll see if he comes on.
All right, you ask him. He didn't even respond to my text, but I may not have. When he gave me his cell phone number, which is 555-5555,
Yeah,
I probably should have figured out that was the incorrect. That was not actually a real number. All right, you're up next, Mark.
Next question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Johnson. Same question to both of you. When it comes to the electronic court filing, kind of like our president has said before, that the ATMs, when they came about, people lost their jobs, okay, because it made things more efficient. There weren't as many people that work at banks as needed. What kind of an impact is this electronic court filing going to have from your understanding of it, and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me begin with the information that I've been able to obtain from my observation and digging into the clerk's website. Because as you know, the clerk is supporting my opponent, so it's really not an open door policy for me to be able to get all the information I want, although I'll be asking for some more. But
He'll get it to you about August 15th.
August 15th, one day after the election, for those listening. But the reality of it is that there have been cuts taking place. So there have been vacancies that have taken place in unfilled positions that have not been refilled. So my understanding right now is that the court is operating pretty diligently on a staff that is stretched thin. So I think this, from my understandings of it, when we get more efficient with the electronic records, our staff will be able to do a little bit more, be a little more customer friendly. But that is certainly one of the things that if I'm fortunate enough to come into the clerk's office, one of the other things I want to do is look from one end to the other of what's going on in the clerk's office. Brand new set of eyes in here, and look for efficiencies, look to see what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then certainly if there are some things that aren't efficient, we can make more efficient so that we can be more customer friendly. That's what I want to do. The flip side of that is that right now we're stretched thin, and what the clerk of the court's officers are looking at doing across the state due to budget shortfalls is to reduce the time open to the public. And so if we become more efficient electronically, we can extend those hours to be back open, what most people recognize as a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 time period. So I don't know right off the bat that the efficiency is going to eliminate people, because I think we've been pretty stretched. But I think it will allow us, once we get to the point, which we're not at yet, because there's still a process in place and we haven't achieved the full electronic phase yet. It's a process. But I think it's something we'll have to continue to evaluate and look at.
Stacy, same question to you.
Great, Mark. The clerk's office, the Polk County Clerk's office, Richard Weiss, has done an excellent job with the managing of the cuts that we've had. As Commissioner Johnson mentioned, we've had some significant cuts, and we've had staff reductions, and we've been able to manage those cuts because we've been proactive. We started over 10 years ago in the civil system, on the civil side. You guys file in there, and we've had electronic records for 10 or 11 years. And see, by having those electronic records, we are putting ourselves in a position when e-filing comes along, because e-filing isn't paperless. A paperless court is truly not having to have the paper files. So we're putting ourselves in a position to be paperless. But the staff, through these years, we've had to, do more with less, and we've designed our systems so that we can do more with less. And I've been involved in all those designs of those systems on the court side. And we have managed, as he mentioned, through attrition, to be able to handle the cuts. But we're going to have future cuts, budget cuts, and we are going to be able to, again, to handle those because of the proactive measures that we've taken. And let me tell you a little bit about this, other offices. Right now, today, there are other offices, because of the cuts, that they are closed to the public. They had to close hours and not have their regular hours to the public. Some of them right over across near the bay and all, but not Polk County. Polk County Clerk's office, Richard Weiss's office, has not had to do that. We sat down, the leadership team, and just looked at where we were, what we were doing. And customer service, through all of it, we have managed a 94% customer satisfaction. The customers that have rated us as providing outstanding or excellent customer service 94% of the time. So, in addition, the state mandates performance standards. Those performance standards, when you file an initial filing with us, depending on the court that it's in, we have standards where we have to have that in the system within 2 business days or 3 business days, depending on the various courts. We have maintained those. We have not fallen below our performance measures through all of this. Foreclosures. You guys, what did foreclosures have done over the past couple of years? They
Mark
were
had
like
to suffer
this.
one of his own. It's
Well,
that was a joke.
We used to average, if I can, we used to average, 200 or 300 a month, and we climbed to over 1,000 a month at one time. And then it dropped back off last year because of the whole robo-signing, that whole, you remember
Oh, yeah.
all that. And then now we're back up to about 500 foreclosure cases a month. And we've been able to do it with the reduced staff and keep our performance measures, meet those, and provide excellent customer service. So I expect to continue that in the future, and one of the ways we're going to do that is with the staff, and that the staff needs to be trained. They need to have a work-life balance. We're very, very proactive when it comes to work-life balance. We've got the Best Places to Work award by Polk Works over the last few years. And so I think those initiatives will help the staff, and I don't foresee us being in a position to have to lay off people or cut if that's what you're headed for.
Next question.
Yeah. I think Richard Weiss has done an amazing job, and I think everybody would agree with that. And I want to thank him for his many years of public service. I guess he's been a clerk. How long has he been the elected clerk?
For 17 years.
And he was the deputy clerk for how many years prior to that?
Oh, goodness.
For a long time.
A long time.
Yeah, and I thank Mr. Weiss for it. He's always been very, very approachable, very accessible. Mr. Johnson, Ms. Butterfield clearly has the support of the clerk's office. She has the support of Mr. Weiss, who's done a tremendous job, and she has support of the clerk's office, and I think our clerk's office does terrific work. Should you have the good fortune to prevail in this election, do you think you're going to be able to sort of, marshal the forces to step behind you and lead that office?
Absolutely. That's the short answer. I guess you want me to expound on
Sure.
that.
I mean, that's a great. There's nothing wrong with a short answer, but you're welcome to expound.
Some of the, I certainly do not fault the clerk for supporting somebody in his office. I mean, that's where he came from, and traditionally across the state, it seems like that's kind of been the inroad is someone leaves and then they do their best to usher in, the next person. Similar to what you were suggesting with Richard Weiss. He was there for a long time when Bud Dixon resigned. The governor appointed Richard, and then nobody ever ran against him. And so I certainly don't fault him for that. And I had enjoyed my relationship with Richard. We've sat beside each other on the county commission for the last 7.5+ years. I haven't appreciated some of his comments as of recent. I think his support has probably gone a little bit strong, and that a lot of employees that would like to make their own decisions feel like they probably can't make their own decision now, because the director has made it very well known who he supports. And I think with that, there's been a lot of pressure for the other people to support the inside person. And I know there are a lot who support me because they've called me.
Okay.
They've written letters to me, and they like my leadership style. If I come in there are some terrific folks that work at the clerk's office. And these areas that Stacy has talked about, they are doing a very good job. If I come in there, I'm not looking to make big changes or anything. I'm looking to add to their lives as much as I can. Because when I've got employees that I speak into their life, I give them the tools they need to be better people, guess what? They perform better. And that shows to the public when they come to do business with the clerk's office. And that's what I seek to do, is build relationships, and build relationships with the state attorney's office, the chief judge, the public defender's office, see how we can better serve them so that they can do their jobs more productively, more efficiently. And so I don't think there would be a big transition at all. And, if Stacy were wanting to stay, I would certainly at this point say, hey, you're valuable to the organization, and at this point I would say I'd love for you to stay, and let's work together to make this a better department, because I think we can. And so I'm not concerned with that issue. I don't harbor grudges. That's not how I was raised. And I'm certainly, if I'm fortunate enough to come in there, not going to point fingers and kick people out, unless between now and then somebody made this personal and decided that they didn't want to follow my lead as the clerk and the leader of the organization. You've got to have people that will follow your direction to be successful.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Thank you.
I'm Brent Gohagan of Gohagan, PA. If you are a business owner, you have undoubtedly had that moment when you realize, I wish I had someone trained to help me, guide me in the drafting of that contract, or you have been concerned about the prospect of your business being sued over something frivolous, or needing guidance in a business dispute regarding some negligence or intentional action on the part of another business or individual. We are here to navigate you through this. We care because we know as a small business it matters to you. Visit us at Gohagan, PA.
Hello, I'm Mark McMann. I started McMann, PA after serving 10 years as a United States Army JAG Corps officer, as a military lawyer. That experience instilled in me certain attributes, including dedication, loyalty, sacrifice, hard work. I have made those attributes the cornerstone, the foundation of McMann, PA. If you're going through a divorce, a paternity action, a child custody battle, or perhaps a child support battle, call us at 863-393-9010 or visit us at McMannLaw.com. We are with you, honest, hardworking, and loyal every step of the way.
Law Talk, sponsored by, that's The Clash, isn't it? London Calling. How about that, man? Name that.
Is that from the 60s, 70s?
Like late 70s, 80s. Okay. Anyway,
I'm surprised you didn't play 80s REM. That's your favorite thing to play for
he
Dave.
does that for me.
Dave loves 80s REM.
He loves George Michael. I'm surprised.
I can't help it. I love George Michael.
Yeah, he just can't get enough of it. He
Nothing
listens to
wrong
it in
with
the
that.
car. He listens to it in the shower.
Yeah.
He listens to it constantly. He's on his way up Saddle Creek.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, constantly. Anyway.
To look at the feral cats.
Yeah.
the feral cats. Anyway, back to Law Talk, sponsored by the Kaylor Law Group in McMann, PA. Mark, you had a question.
Yeah, I did. Both of you touched on this, and start with you, Ms. Butterfield. You mentioned that there's going to be budget cuts. There have been budget cuts, and you expect them to be in the future. And you talked about how the electronic court filing will help in that regard. But what other ways do you plan to deal with further budget cuts?
Well, we have had budget cuts, and the state of the economy, which still isn't doing that well, I certainly think that coupled with trying to provide outstanding customer service is going to be a challenge for the next clerk. And so as the next clerk, I will handle those budget cuts simply by utilizing the technology that is there, that we have started, and best practices to take things to the next level, to continue to enhance our initiatives so that we can hopefully, again, handle those cuts without significant reductions in the level of service that we provide to our customers, because we've provided excellent service. That's what our customers have come to expect, and we want to continue that. So I think that the next level, I need to make something very clear. The paperless court, again, the e-filing, you guys are attorneys, that doesn't mean you have paperless, because if you send in a e-filing and we still have to keep paper files, we're not paperless. As a matter of fact, there's only 2 counties, I think it's only 2 at this moment, that are paperless in any of those courts, and we're fixing to be the 3rd in our probate and our civil courts. So we're taking the lead. We're on the edge of that, and we want to continue that into all of our courts. So I think that's the biggest issue for me as the next clerk, is to continue those, to get to that completely paperless system, because that's huge savings, dollar savings to us. So there's other things that we can utilize technology. That's in our, people don't like to talk about accounting, but you've got other files, your documents, your records, and your financial records. Get everything paperless. Make all of your disbursements paperless. There's still paper checks that are cut, but you've got to put things in place and security. So I want to go to all of those items and look at those and say, let's have digital records. Let's use the electronic means to make payments for all the AP files, the traffic ticket sites I talked about. There are agencies that have in place the ability to send their traffic tickets electronically. So that's something I'd like to do.
Mr. Johnson, same question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the word for that is called e-recording, where you take a paper, somebody from the public takes a piece of paper, scans it in, and sends it to the department, and they put a time, date identifier on that, and certainly saves us with a lot of paper going back and forth, and decreases the time of turnaround for your actions. And anytime you can do that, there's cost savings. Look, across the state, the Florida Association of courts, I forget what exactly they call them, but they're a state association that's worked on this long and hard. Their first idea of not getting rid of anybody is to eliminate unfilled positions, so that you're not eliminating people. So you eliminate the unfilled positions, and what that does, that money is still in your budget. So when you eliminate those unfilled positions, that then decreases your budget. Okay, that's one item. The second item they looked at that we talked about a little bit before is either decreasing your hours, opening a half hour later to the public in the morning. Your employees are still there, but they're getting work done in an uninterrupted time. And so there's a myriad of ways to do that. Another county that I looked at was during lunch. They found that they were having a large amount of people come during lunch to process papers. And so they hooked it up online where people could go ahead and make appointments online. They could scan all their documents, have them done beforehand, and when they walked in during lunch, there was somebody that worked directly with them to speed up times. There are a lot of things going on around the country that I've looked at, and so a lot of it is to compare where are we at now and where can we be tomorrow. Can we implement some of these other cost savings? And certainly with the paperless move, the paperless initiative, our clerk of the court has said that's going to be a substantial savings. We haven't recognized that savings yet, but when we are, and it will come in gradually, then that will also help to allow us not to cut back any further on staffing.
We got 3 minutes left, so it's about a minute for each one of them.
Sure, let's do that. Ms. Butterfield, we asked you the question. Who we asked the first question to? Okay, so we started. Well, then what should we do here? Who should go first? We started with Sam, so we'll finish with Ms. Butterfield.
Yeah.
Sam, you go first.
And this is say whatever I want.
Whatever
right?
you want to say.
Well, hey, I just like to say thank you for all of your fans out there that
Yeah,
are
both
listening.
of them. Actually, my mom's out of town, so just my wife.
And
And Daniel, the guy that stopped by on the motorcycle.
Well, my wife and daughter are out of town, so I don't even have
Oh,
that
my
going
gosh.
for me. But thank you guys for having us. And again, for those listening, I just want to say thank you for your support. You know, I want to come in and lead the clerk of the court's office to make it a better place than what it is, and to provide some leadership and proactiveness on the side of assuring the public that every one of their tax dollars are being well spent. As a county commissioner, I know what it is to raise that revenue to come in, and I certainly am very sensitive to every dollar that gets spent to assure that it is spent appropriately. And certainly want to thank the clerk's office, all of the employees there, because there are some terrific employees, and I hope I have the opportunity to work with them.
Thank you so much, Chairman Johnson. Ms. Butterfield.
David, thank you very much for allowing me the time to talk to you. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the first thing is it's been a privilege and an honor to work for Richard Weiss for these years. He's been a great friend, a great mentor, and he's been a great clerk. And his office has done a lot of successful things in his tenure. And I've been there preparing for this job for a long time. You know, I don't want to run for any other office. I want to be the clerk. It's been my passion. Talk to the employees that work there with us, and they know it's been Stacy's passion to be the clerk. And so now I have that opportunity. And so I think that I have the leadership skills along with the education experience and hands-on training to step in on day one. And I'd ask for your support and your vote on August 14th for Stacy Butterfield. Thank you.
Thank you so very much to both of you for coming on. I tell you what, we are so fortunate here in Polk County to have people. It is not easy to run for public office, and I want to thank both of you for going through that process.
A respectful and informative debate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much to both of you. This is David Kaylor on behalf of Mark McMann, thanking you for tuning in to Law Talk.
Have a good week.